Have you ever heard a really good song and wondered how it came to be? Wondered about the inspiration behind it and the people involved, and just wanted to know more of the story? Music can be incredibly powerful. It can take you on a journey, make you feel something, and maybe even connect you to a place in your past. Today's guest knows exactly how to do just that. He is an amazing singer-songwriter and storyteller who will share with us his love for capturing stories with lyrics and melodies and the therapeutic value of music. You'll also get a behind-the-scenes look at the inspiration and message behind one of his songs. You're listening to The Positively Delighted Show, episode number 14. Welcome to The Positively Delighted Show. I'm your host, Kelsey Henry, and in this podcast, we'll be creating a positive mindset through inspirational interviews, music, stories, and exercises for building happy habits. Welcome to The Positively Delighted Show, everyone. It has been a busy time over here as I prepare to meet my friend Charlie today for our epic camping adventure. I am super excited and also kind of freaking out that I'm moving into a car today. I'm as prepared as I can be for this trip, but I am a bit nervous, excited. It will definitely be an adventure. If you want to hear more about our trip and our plan, you can listen to last week's episode number 13, where Charlie and I talk about things like RV wet baths, porta potties, and My Little Pony. I've been told the episode is informative and entertaining. You can follow along on our adventure on Instagram at Positively Delighted and at Where's Charlie? Charlie spelled Charly. Today's episode is so fitting for the start of this adventure because this is a song and story episode for the song Travelin On by one of my favorite songwriters, Richard Gilbert. Born in Fort Worth, Texas, Richard Gilbert has been playing guitar and writing songs since he was 14 years old. Inspired by James Taylor's lyrics and playing style and Al Green's voice, Richard worked for years to channel those eclectic influences into a unique style characterized by unconventional musicality but firmly rooted in folk traditions. Richard Gilbert's songs are image-rich narratives built around insightful lyrics and perfectly placed melodies that reflect on a range of emotions, public and private, making statements you can relate to with messages that touch your heart and soul. I met Richard when I first moved to Denton, Texas for college and started playing the local open mic scene. I was so impressed with his songwriting and his professionalism as a musician. Since then, I have learned much from Richard about creating music and running a music business. I can't wait to share his wonderful song Travelin On with you and his perspective on songwriting. So let's get into the interview with Richard Gilbert. Richard, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm so excited to talk to you today on the podcast. I was trying to think about it yesterday, and I think I've known you for about 7 years now.
Yeah, pretty close. I mean, we met at Banner, the old Banner anyway.
A coffee shop in Denton.
Yeah.
Denton,
that's
Texas.
where I met most of my music friends, I think, was at Banner.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, at least I specifically remember that when I had just started at University of North Texas, and I think I was 18, and I went to sign up for the local online radio station, and I know we were definitely there at that same time.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah, I remember
Definitely
that.
were there then. Mm-hmm. So since then, I know all throughout college, we played so many shows together while I lived in Denton.
Yes, quite a few. We did LSA.
We probably did an LSA burger show. Yeah. And I know you took me over to the prestigious ice cream, it was the frozen yogurt show.
Oh, that's right.
In Allen. Yes. That was a very fun show. Because, when people are buying Froyo, then they come and they just give you all of their leftover money.
Right.
Hopefully. Yeah. That's the plan.
Yeah, pretty good. It was a pretty good gig.
It was pretty good tips.
Free yogurt and decent tips.
You can't argue with free yogurt.
Yeah.
Definitely can't argue with free yogurt. So, Richard, tell me about your music. How long have you been playing?
Well, I mean, I guess if you want to go back, I've been playing the guitar since I was 14, but musically, to the public, since 2004.
Okay.
And I started at, of all places, it was called the Brick House, but then became Banter.
Oh, okay.
And I did an open mic there, which the story about that one is I was so nervous that I had a coffee cup up on stage with me, and back then it was dead silent. They demanded that everybody not talk.
I like that.
Which is nerve-wracking for a new,
yeah.
You've never played in public before. And I probably missed up a half a dozen times, and after the first song I reached for my coffee and my hand was shaking so bad that I had to grip the neck of the guitar because it was so visibly shaking. I would have spilled the coffee everywhere. But that was my first appearance in front of people, and of course they're all polite at open mics. They all applaud. And then I started doing I did a thing at what is now Killer Tacos in Denton's Art 6.
Okay.
I played a gig there with my son called Ryan Gilbert and Friends, because my son was already in the music scene.
Okay.
Pretty heavy. And there it was like, okay, they clapped, and I was a little more at ease, still super nervous. So yeah, it's been since 2004, and I just been kind of playing around coffee houses, restaurant gigs, clubs, wherever they'll take me,
Well, yeah, I know we talked about this just the other day about booking shows, because that's something that I've never really gone hardcore into. And you had so many things to say on just different types of venues and how to get more shows. Yeah,
it's just I think basically what a lot of people do, and I've read a lot of articles on bookers and also venues on what they want to see. Yeah. And they want to see it. They want to see it concise and short, but they also want links to your music. They want to know when you want to be there. They don't want this open-ended question as, can I play your venue? Yeah. Because they say, well, when do you want to play? They don't want to have to come back and do it back and forth with you.
Good point.
So if you have everything up there up front, what kind of genre you play, who you are, where you're from, what you can provide them as far as, like, I normally say I can be an opening act, also tell them that I can provide my own PA. Just give them as much information, but still keeping it within a range where they're not having to read a book. I think. And one of the things that I just recently read, a new article, is what I told you about, listing just a couple, 2 or 3 of the past venues that you played at. Normally you want to put your better venues, the bigger venues that you played, so you kind of let them know, okay, I played it. Whether you played at Dan Silverleaf on an open mic night, you played at Dan Silverleaf. You don't have to put the date you played there. Yeah. Just let them know that, I played there. So it gives them some places to look at to say, okay, well, will you be a good fit? And then they're going to listen to you. And if you have a video of a live video, put that on there. And that way they can look at you and see how you perform and see if you're going to be, again, a good fit for the venue. Yeah. And I think that advice, everything you just said, could translate to so many different industries as well. I mean, if you're trying to get a connection anywhere, I mean, like, say, for example, I wanted to volunteer at a conference. And so I had to fill out this application, but I wanted it to be as unique as possible. So, you want to include links to things you've done before. So when they asked if I had any experience, I listed out the different conferences that I had worked at before, or my relevant experience to that. Right. So I think that it's very relevant. Yeah. And I think also that people need to realize that when you do request to play at a venue, you need to normally request at least 60 to 90 days out. Okay. Because a lot of venues are already going to be booked. Like, I requested to play at a venue in Fort Worth in October, but they're already booked for the rest of the fall. Yeah. And so, but they got back to me. And that's another thing. If they don't get back to you, give it a week or 2, maybe a week. Reach out to them again. If they don't get back to you a second time, just chalk it up as that they're either really, really busy, or they just didn't feel like you were a good fit, and go on to the next one. Don't get hurt over it. Don't get upset. Yeah. It's just a little step that you have to get over and go on from there. Well, it's one less venue you'd have to reach out to next. Right. Yeah. A lot of people, they get upset. Well, why don't they want me to play? Well, it's their venue. Yeah. They get to pick and choose who wants to play, who they want to represent them. Yeah. And it's good that you're not a fit for everyone. Right. Yeah. That's for sure. Yeah. For any opportunity. I mean, even if it's like a job that you're trying to apply for, I mean, especially with something like that,
there may be like 50 people applying for a job, and only one person's going to get it. And if it's not for you, then move on and find the one that is.
Yeah, because there are venues that will take you. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm proof of that. I mean, there will be somebody that will take you. If you got every one, you would probably be so tired at the end of each month because you'd be playing 20 gigs a month. But just
absolutely.
being persistent and being positive.
Yeah, that's good attitude. Having a positive attitude that just helps wonders. Yeah, so Richard, you have a song for us that you're going to tell us about today.
Yes, the song is called Travelin On. I probably wrote it in 2009 or 2010. I actually recorded it in 2011.
Okay.
And anyway, so it's I don't know if you want me to tell you about it now or you want to ask me some questions.
Let's listen to it and then we'll talk about it.
Cool.
Okay, sounds good. So let's play that now.
The ocean's breathing in and out. The sun is finally signing off. Thinking about all it's done today. The moon is crawling out of bed, shaking its sleepy head, shining down on the road. I'm traveling on. I think about the things I've done. Some are right and some are wrong. Guess it only matters in your mind. Never been to New York City, and maybe someday, and that's okay. I hope you're on the road. I'm traveling on. It don't matter where you're going. It don't matter where you've been. As long as time keeps on flowing straight away from you. I'm so glad I didn't do all the things I didn't know. Might have changed things in my life. Wish there was a rhyme or reason, soundless echoes through the seasons. I hear all my friends on the road. I'm traveling on. There isn't a day, a moment passing you aren't walking through my mind, gazing through that looking glass. Stand before you, heart exposed, not knowing how this story ends. Between us there is a road. I'm traveling on. It don't matter where you're going. It don't matter where you've been. As long as time keeps on flowing straight away from you. The ocean's breathing in and out. The sun is finally signing off. Thinking about all it's gets done today. The moon is crawling out of bed, shaking its sleepy head, shining down on the road. I'm traveling on. I am traveling on. I'm traveling on.
Richard, that was so beautiful. So can you tell us about this song? Tell us the story behind it.
Well, it started out basically what it says, Traveling On, just a traveling song. And as I started writing it more, I realized it was, the road was life. Because, just basically starting with the second verse, when I say, I think about the things I've done. Just basically everybody thinks about what they could have done better.
Yeah.
Or they think about the past. And there was a time when I think my son was probably in his mid-20s and we were in the kitchen talking, and I just basically said, do you think I could have been a better father to him? And he said, Dad, I just think that's all in your mind.
Yeah.
And that's what we do, is we play games with ourselves in our minds to think, what could we have done better, when we just basically need to realize that we did the best we could.
Yeah.
And as long as you're not in evil,
yeah.
We do that. And that's not just being like a parent, but it's being like anything that you do. We did the best we could, and you move on. You don't sit there and dwell on it, because that's what a lot of people will sit there. Our minds are our greatest asset and our worst enemy.
Yeah.
Because we'll sit there and let it play with us.
Yes.
And we'll sit on a couch and we'll think of these what ifs. And the what ifs haven't even happened. We just create them. And everybody does it.
Happened.
Yeah.
But could they have?
Right. And I'm guilty of it to this day. And sometimes you have to just catch yourself and go, wait a minute. What's the worst thing that's going to happen if you go up and sing in front of these people? They can boo you. That's the worst thing that's going to happen to you?
Yeah.
Okay, well, then did you die?
Hopefully not.
Did something horrible happen to you? Other than that, your ego gets hurt a little bit. So what? So you get up there and you do the best you can. And 10 times out of 10, nobody boos you.
Yeah.
And everything works out really well. So that's kind of where I was going with that verse. The third verse, I'm so glad I didn't do all the things I didn't know. Basically, it's just like another thing that we do. We think, man, I wish I would have done this. Man, I wish I would have done that. But it would have completely changed your life.
Yeah. And at the time, you didn't know.
Yeah. If I would have decided to live in another city, or if I would have, just anything that you changed that you would have changed in your past would have changed your entire life completely. You wouldn't have the friends you have. I wouldn't have the sons I have. You wouldn't be I probably wouldn't be playing music, because I kind of did things backwards. I worked a career. I had a wife and kids. And then I started playing music.
Yeah.
Most people kind of do that the other way around. I waited till I was in my 40s before I started playing music. So, and the last verse is just kind of like a reflection of, it's a combination of things. At that time, it was thinking about somebody who we had fallen apart in the relationship. And basically there was a road between us. So there's life between us.
Yeah. And
we both, and it's the road I'm traveling, the life I'm traveling is different than the life you're traveling. So I'm going on my way and continuing. And the chorus is basically just saying that, as long as you're moving forward, you're always in the present. That's another thing that people don't They think that, well, if I keep going forward, I'm traveling into the future. Well, no, because you take one step and where are you? You're right where you are. You're in the present. You never are in the future. You're always in the present.
Interesting.
And people don't think about that. They think that they think of the future.
Yeah.
But physically, we can never be in the future. Never. We're always
really
in the present.
Interesting to think about.
And we're never really, when you think about it, we're never in the past. Mm-hmm. We're always in the present.
Yeah.
And it's a thing that, I've been reading these. I told you a couple of the books that I've read, that I think that are pretty motivating. And I try to, remember these things because I do dwell on, from time to time, on things that happened in the past. And I do dwell on what I think my future is going to be. And I can do something about the future. I can do something about what I'm doing daily. But I can't do anything about what happened in the past. I can only either learn from my mistakes or forget about it. If it's something that's not important. You've really got two options with the past. You can, if you made a mistake in a relationship or in a life decision, you go, oh, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah, you learn from it.
Yeah. But if it's something like something that you just don't have any control over, you just forget about it and keep moving.
I'll let it go.
Yeah, let it go. And I've done both of those things. I've had to let things go, and I've also said, I'm not going to make that mistake again. And sometimes I do.
Yeah.
but it's just so it was probably one of the more poignant songs that I've ever written, as far as just kind of going along a storyline. And if people can just use their minds a little bit when they're listening to it, to understand that, it's a cool traveling song, but if they can interpret it to the way that that I meant it to be, then that would be great. I would love for people to, cause I've just started playing it in public again over the last few shows, and I get a really good reaction out of it, which is always good when you play a song that you haven't played in 5 years or 3 years or 4 years. And, I've actually had people come up to me after I played it and just, because of the lyrics, touch them in some way. Yeah. And, and that's what we do as songwriters. Yeah. The songs are about us. But we don't realize that we are whoever's listening to it in the audience. They've gone through the same experience. So when we write a song that is about, making a decision in your life to not dwell on something like me wondering whether I was a good father to my kids, or thinking about the things that I did wrong. There's somebody else out there that's thinking about the same thing. They did it, and it reflects on them, and they hold on to that, and sometimes they approach you, and sometimes they don't. But you've touched somebody,
and sometimes it's something even completely different. It's interesting to see how your song that's so personal to you can take someone else on a completely different journey.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and you look at the expressions on some of the people's faces. Not this song, but I had another song that I wrote, and it was an extremely sad song about a niece that I lost. And of course, the implication is the loss of something, a love, or the loss through death. Yeah. And I actually had somebody in the audience in tears because it affected them, And not that I'm trying to make people cry. Yeah. but when you're singing an emotional song like that, it's just like if you sing a happy, upbeat song and you see them light up and they start tapping their foot, it makes them feel good. And if you sing something sad, it reminds them of something. And so that's what we are. We're storytellers. And we're in a sense, maybe not meaning to be, but in some ways we can be, the music we're therapists.
Yes.
We help people get through, and it's not just for them, it's for us. Because a lot of the stuff that I wrote prior to the music that I have now was so dark and so sad that I had to, my son actually told me, Dad, you need to quit writing such sad songs, because but that was the place that I was in. Yeah. But it got me out of that place.
It's a form of expression, right. If it's inside of you, you have to get it out somehow.
Yeah, and I look at the lyrics to some of those songs that I probably haven't sang I wrote back in early 2000s, and there's a couple of them that I might bring back that might be, more applicable to today.
Yeah.
But there's some that I probably won't ever sing again. They're on an album. My very first album was called Can't Stop the Rain.
Okay.
But it's very raw. Recorded it in a closet through a guy's computer,
Nice.
for $50.
Hey, do what you can. You're just starting out.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it's really interesting to think about the way that as you grow as a person, your songs grow as well. And with your experiences, even so, like if you were to write a song right now, looking back on maybe that time, it would be a completely different perspective.
Right.
And it would be, it might be more mature. It might be
True.
sad. It might be happy. It could be kind of bittersweet. There's so many different ways to look at things. And I think that perspective, when writing a song or looking back on your life is really important.
Right. Yeah. You do grow as a songwriter, and you grow as a musician, because if you listen to me back then, I was much more demure and withdrawn and vocally, especially. It was just like that song. And now then when I sing it, the verses are the same. The chorus is a little more, I guess for sake of the word, dramatic. But we look at our lyrics. My thing when I write is I like to make my lyrics interesting. Sometimes you can't help but be a little cliche because it just happens that way.
Yeah.
But and yet I don't want to make them pretentious either.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound like, oh, look at him, he's trying to, but I do write songs that are sometimes abstract and they're just,
philosophical.
Yeah. So it's fun. It's fun. Now it's fun. Now for me, writing is okay. I can do a sad song. I can write one. But it doesn't come from anywhere other than, I might draw that from the past, but it doesn't affect me in the way that it did back then,
That's really interesting to me, because I'm trying to get more into that. Whereas now when I write a song, I have to be in that emotion. That's how I've always been.
Right.
But now I think that as I'm getting older and I have more life experience, it'll be easier to draw back on some of those older emotions and still feel it enough.
Right.
But not live in it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I just kind of think, there was one song I wrote, I'm trying to think what it was, and somebody thought that it's something that had just recently happened, like it was a little sad. And I guess that's the thing. That's why we do what we do. That's why we're storytellers, because we can take things. I'll sit at a coffee house and I'll just write down words. I'll write like something that I see, a pillow, table, chair, or a couple talking or whatever. And then sometimes I'll take those words and I'll try to construct a song out of it. But my process is normally a tune first. I'll develop some kind of a tune that I like, and I try to, whether it's upbeat or it's a little more mellow. And then from there, I'll go with the rhythm of I want to set the structure for the verse and the chorus and all that. Yeah.
That's really interesting. I'm just imagining you sitting at a coffee shop and just like secretly writing songs about everyone there while they're just minding their own life. And they'll never know.
They'll never know.
They'll never know. That's so interesting. So I think we kind of touched on this, but I'd be curious to know more about when someone is listening to your song, how do you want them to feel? What journey do you want them to take?
Well, generally I want them to be happy. I want them to be positive, and I want them to be thinking when they hear the lyrics. What do you mean by that? And I want to be able to turn their heads on a certain verse. If there's a certain line in there that I write that I really think is a cool line, and I want them to be able, I'm going to sing that verse and be looking at the audience and see how many people look towards me when I say that. And there are a couple of songs that I have, a few songs like that where I'll actually have people turn their head and look up because they go, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. And afterwards they'll say, I really like that line in that one song you did about, there's a song, called Ferris Wheel. And
I like that one.
Ginger Girls on Ferris Wheel.
Yes.
Yeah, anyway.
It's a good rhyme.
Yeah, so that particular line, people, for some reason, they love that one line in the song. And that was one of the songs that I wrote observing at a coffee house. A guy told me that he fell in love with a redheaded girl on a Ferris wheel in California. And Love is Love came from these two guys that came walking into, it was at the Jupiter House.
Okay.
And they came walking into Jupiter House, and you could tell that they were more than friends. They were in a relationship. And just the intimacy and the just them sitting on the couch and talking together, and that's where Love is Love, that's all I know. Rise above and let it go. In other words, get over it. You know, people are going to love each other, whether it's male and male, male and female, whatever, you know. So that's where that came from. And then it just kind of became a story about, you know, being in love with somebody and what you thought about them, stuff like that.
Yeah. Wow. So much just observation.
Well, that's what, I mean, I think that's a big part, especially folk singers in Americana. We tell stories, you know. I mean, not that any other genre doesn't tell a story.
But it is, I can see it is different.
It is different. I mean, hip hop does have, there's some stories to be told. And that, if you really listen to the lyrics but that's kind of what folk and Americana is known for, is storytelling. And so, yeah, we either observe or we get it somewhere in the back of our minds. We draw it out from there.
Yeah. Well, I can definitely see how I think there's a difference between, like, some songs are very, like, that emotion in the moment, raw, that kind of perspective. But then some of these other story type songs might be looking at a moment and then seeing the moments around it. Right. And where that story comes in.
Yeah. And that's kind of what Ferris wheel did. It was just like this really interesting moment that I observed, and I just was sitting there waiting on a coffee, and and I thought, wow, this is basically what people need to realize. This is just life.
Yeah.
It's just life. It's just people. It's just basically people trying to get by. Everybody's trying to do the same thing. Everybody's trying to make a living. Everybody who wants to be in a relationship trying to be in a good relationship, and everybody that wants to be single, and just let people be what they want to be, you know, or what they are, you know.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And I just love hearing just little bits and pieces about the stories behind songs, because when you're listening to, I mean, writing a song is really personal. And then being able to hear what was going on in someone's life when that happened, I think it's just so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is there anything else that you would like to say about Travelin On?
No, I mean, that's, you know, I think the first verse, basically is almost like the chorus in a sense, but it's, the first verse is just saying that, just saying how you're starting out, you know, in life, you know, the sun's shining out. I have a fondness for the night anyway. Ergo, I Love the Night, my EP, plug. But it's just like, and most of my time when I was a kid, my dad, when we'd go on vacations, we'd leave at 2:00 in the morning back then.
Oh, wow.
Because it was cool and we didn't have air conditioning in the car.
Oh, okay.
So it was roll down the windows and hit the road at 2 and drive as long as he could until daylight, you know. But, it just, basically, that's just, the moon shining down on the road I'm traveling on, or shining down on life, or whatever.
Well, even just that little tidbit, I'm sure that was a big part of your childhood and maybe going into your adult life, why you love nights so much.
Yeah.
That's
because
really
I enjoyed it. I mean, of course, we'd fall asleep in the back or whatever, and you know, if it was a station wagon, we were so safe back then. We just, you know, get the blankets and a pillow and sleep in the back.
Good to go.
Yeah. Dad's traveling down the road at 70 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, it's cool 'cause it's 2 a.m., so you're good.
True. No traffic.
Nothing could go wrong.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So, you mentioned your EP. Can you tell me a little bit about your new EP?
The new EP is Daybreak.
Okay.
Yeah. Daybreak, recorded at Cafe Solo Studios.
Okay.
With Chris Howell. And, the songs on that one are probably about 70% love songs, and then one I always have couple of traveling songs, and then one that's a little more abstract. I'll Never Give Up on Love is one of my favorite ones that I sing. And Daybreak, the title track, is more of a lost love, breakup, sad song. I'll Say Goodbye is another very sad song. And Home is Travelin'. It's more Dylan-esque in lyrics. And I get that from people as far as the lyrics go. So didn't intentionally do that. It's just the way I wrote it. But I'll take that, if anybody wants to say that reminded him of something that he would write. Geez, I'm trying to remember all of my songs on that
How many songs are on it?
6.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, it was fun recording it. It's really relaxed, the studio that I record at. And the guy that does the engineering and the mix, Chris, is great. Very, very knowledgeable, and that's always good to have somebody that's. I know nothing about music. I can't tell you what key I'm in. I can tell you some of the chords that I'm playing, and some of them I just make up. They're probably chords. Yeah. They just sound pretty.
But they sound
so
pretty.
I play them.
Got the ear for it.
So to have somebody that has knowledge is. And you have to, especially when you're recording.
Yeah.
Most engineers do have knowledge, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Or they wouldn't be doing it. But Chris is a particularly cool guy, very relaxed.
Yeah. I think it's really important to be able to work with someone who can really help bring your vision to life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And we always listen to it. We do 2 or 3 takes. I used to, when I first recorded, it was like 1 take. How's that sound? Sounds good. Okay, next song. Yeah. And now there's songs that I listen to on my first CD, 2011, On the Run. I wish I could, and I am going to do a remake on a couple of those in the studio, come up here pretty soon, along with some new songs that I just wrote. But I always do at least 2 to 3 takes, and then we listen to all 3 takes, and then we make a decision either to take one of those or go back in there and try it again. Yeah. It's fun. It's fun putting it on the internet for people to listen to. Let them make a decision about it. If they want to listen to it, they can. If they don't like it, they don't like it. You can't worry about that.
Yeah. You find the next person.
Right.
And it's really cool because now, I mean, with this day and age, we have technology. Anyone who's making music can leave their own legacy.
Right. That's really cool. I think that's one of the reasons why I continue to record, not just for myself, just for my sons to listen to, like my grandson. I have a grandson, so, he can listen to his grandfather when he's 20 years old. Hopefully I'll still be around, but, he can listen to me sing songs that I recorded. I might have 20, 30 songs that are available for him to listen to. Yeah. And so, yeah, it is a cool thing to know that as long as there are computers and as long as there's internet, your music's going to be out there for basically forever. In this day and age. Yeah. It's going to be there forever. It's like powerful. 50, 60 years from now, you could type in Kelsey Henry or you could type in Richard Gilbert, music, and something down the list will come up and there'll be one of your songs and they'll go, okay, we'll listen to this guy. And there you go. Oh, wow. Is that how they played music back then?
Way back in the day in 2018.
They used guitars.
Wow, like real ones?
Yeah.
That's so funny. I can't even imagine what it's going to look like.
I got a feeling it's going to stay. I think musical instruments, I mean, I don't think we're going to ever get away from the basics of music. Yeah. I think that's always going to be here. There's there's just no way that they would take away the natural sound of a piano or a guitar or a violin. It's just too...
Yeah, and it just feels good.
Right.
It feels good making music, because when you're making music, you really quite literally you're making it.
Yes.
It's like, it's an instrument. Yeah. And it's like, when you play it, it makes sound. Yeah. And it feels so good.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Yeah, and again, we talked about it earlier. It's therapy. Mm-hmm. It's just to go sit in my bedroom and get the guitar and just play. Mm-hmm. It can relax you, and it can also make you think of the lyrics. It can also give you, some kind of a thought to sit down and, I need to write that down real quick before I forget it. Yeah.
And it's so powerful, because just like we mentioned, a song can make you feel something. And I say, as a songwriter, that's a really big power and responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 You do it for yourself, but you also are affecting other people out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Richard, this has just been so much fun to talk to you about music and life and traveling on. And I have some rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
If you're ready for it. Kind of ready to do this. Okay. All right. Ready?
Yes, I am ready.
Okay.
All right. Confidence.
Okay. So name one thing that makes you happy.
Music.
Okay. Name one thing that you're grateful for.
My children.
Go. Your favorite song you've ever written?
I'm going to say, But Here I Am.
Okay.
It's a new one.
Okay. And we'll come back to that in a second. Okay. Favorite musician?
James Taylor.
Okay. Favorite book?
You're a Badass.
Such a good book. I love that book. Finally someone says it. All right. A podcast that you've been listening to?
Gosh, I have not been listening to any podcasts.
Okay.
I have one now that I'll be listening to.
Yes, good answer. Good answer. All right, something that you do for fun.
Wow, I guess, my gigs, playing my music, that's my fun. Yeah. That's really is. Yeah. So, playing gigs.
There you go. All right, and something on your bucket list.
To travel to Sweden and play gigs in Sweden.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I will come and see you on your tour when you go there.
Okay.
That sounds great. So that is all the rapid fire questions I have for you. So that was a great job.
Thank you.
But I want to go back to your favorite song you've ever written real quick. I want to hear about that one.
Well, I'm trying to think of my verses and everything to kind of break it down, but,
or just the overall message.
The overall message is just, basically, everything that you've been through. Like if you're a friendship or a love or whatever, all the things that you go through in life, you're always there. You're there. You may sometimes in a relationship you may be ready to call it quits, but here I am. I'm still here.
Yeah.
It was probably one of my. This is just me talking about it because somebody else might have a whole different opinion, but I lyrically and, musically, one of my best songs.
Okay. I'm excited to hear
because it's the vocals are different than a lot of songs that I've done. The chord progression's a lot different. And, it's dark without being dark. It's not really meant to be a dark song. It's basically just, I don't know. Like I said, I would have to have a little more time in my head to analyze the different verses right off the cuff. But
well, perhaps we'll have to do another episode about it in the future.
Sounds good.
And is that one on your new EP?
That will be on my newest EP when I start recording in the studio. I have recorded it. It is on Spotify.
Okay.
But I'm going to re-record it. I recorded it with a hollow body, and I want to re-record it with my acoustic.
Okay.
And so, cause then I want to add that one along with a couple of new ones and a couple of remakes down the road at Cafe Solo.
Okay. Well, I will definitely listen. I will link up to the one that is on Spotify.
Yeah.
And Richard, what is the best way for people to find out more about you and reach you?
Anybody can reach me on Facebook, but, I've got a website. It's Richard Gilbert Songs. but I am trying to work out a way to get it changed to Richard Gilbert Music. So right now it's richardgilbertsongs.com. There's all my music, all my merchandise, t-shirts, all my gigs where I'm playing are on there. And then of course Spotify has all my music on there. So you can type in Richard Gilbert and you can follow me on Spotify and listen to all my songs.
Okay, well, I'll definitely link up to all of that in the show notes.
Yeah, and also there's a couple of covers on the Spotify that I recorded. Drown by Bring Me the Horizon and Photographs by Ed Sheeran. Okay. So I did a couple of covers, and those are with the But Here I Am album on there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Richard, thank you so much for being on the Positively Delighted show today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Positively Delighted Show. I hope you enjoyed Richard's song Travelin On. If you want to hear more of Richard's music or purchase some songs, you can find his music in iTunes, Spotify, and on his website, richardgilbertsongs.com. I'll have all the links to his music and Facebook page in the show notes for this episode at positivelydelighted.com. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Positively Delighted Show. Be sure to head over to positivelydelighted.com to get the show notes for this episode. If you liked the show so far and you've been learning a lot from the content, I would love if you could go to iTunes or your favorite podcast listening app and leave a review. You would be my favorite person ever. Thank you so much again, and I hope you have a positively delighted day. See you next time.